The evidence that has Australia's Labor Prime Minister Anthony Albanese removed from office for corruption is with me right now. Say goodbye to the far leftist Prime Minister who won in a landslide last weekend. And I tell you something, you're going to say goodbye to him for the most terrible things. Here we go. The evidence landed today. And here we go. This is the evidence. And I'm asking friends and followers of mine to watch this video all the way to the end. I can confirm we've got the mainstream media watching. G'day, everybody. Better late than never. And this is the evidence. Labor backs, and it'll come out the wrong way, but Labor backs Aussies via Bill Cruz Foundation. So guess what's happened, everybody? Australia's corrupt Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, has just played his final hand. He's just given $10 million. Okay, as this story says, I'll just read it out. A re-elected Albanese Labor government will invest $10 million to support the work of the Red Bill Cruz Foundation. Why is that the end for everybody involved? Let me explain. Okay, if you bear with me, I'll just be showing you the evidence. This man is the Reverend Bill Cruz. And for a couple of decades at least, he was a friend of ours at Infected Blood Australia. He even gave evidence at an inquiry that we forced. I forced a Senate inquiry in 2004 into tainted blood transfusions and tainted blood products. This is what the Rev Bill Cruz had to say in 2004. Here we go. Just let me play this for you. Sometimes there's difficulty in, let me see if I can get the audio. Okay.
I really believe there should be people in jail after this. I really do. I really and truly believe there should be people in jail after this.
There's me in the background.
I really do. I really and truly believe there should be people in jail after this. I really
Right,
do.
so that was the National Living Treasure of Australia, that's what he looks like now, talking to a Senate inquiry. It was no inquiry, there were no judges and no lawyers, but I forced it because they wouldn't give us a royal commission, the necessary legal investigation that we needed to inquire as to how was it that tens of thousands of Australian medical patients were given tainted blood transfusions. Thousands of women in childbirth, like this man's own wife, he divorced her over it. Okay, his own wife and kid were affected by tainted blood. His wife got tainted blood in childbirth. For decades, he didn't talk about it, right? He was like a helper of ours. But he promised me, the moment his close friend, Australia's Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, became Prime Minister, he promised me he'd publicly call on him to hold a Royal Commission of Inquiry into the infected blood scandal. How did hundreds of children, why were they knowingly injected with tainted blood? Why did we have manslaughter? Why is it that I've had to go to federal police who've opened a case file? Why was it that I had to become a witness to the United Kingdom's largest ever legal investigation called the Infected Blood Inquiry in 2019 that made a manslaughter finding last year? And why is it that during the election and during Albanese's first term, why is it that he broke his promise to publicly call on his friend Albanese to do the obvious thing, to call for a royal commission into thousands of Australians, tens of thousands of Australians being impacted by tainted blood? It is our nation's deadliest medical scandal. Why didn't he do it? I'm now about to present the evidence of why he didn't do it. Because you see, Labor didn't want this coming out. Albanese is part of the criminal cover-up. He knew this was the equivalent of like the Hunter Biden laptop. Do you remember during that election that Joe Biden won in America in like 2020, the media had a Hunter Biden laptop that was full of perversions? Well, the infected blood scandal, the evidence about the infected blood scandal is the Hunter Biden laptop. Had he publicly called on Albanese, Albanese would have lost that election and he wouldn't have been giving Bill Cruz $10 million. $10 million. Now we know why our friend betrayed us, eh? Good on you, eh, Bill? Hey, mate? Your own wife was given tainted blood in childbirth, mate. Then your daughter found out she got tainted blood, which is a rare occurrence, but it happened 30 years later, mate. You knew that thousands of Aussie mums have got no help, mate. You knew that. You knew that hundreds of children have been experimented on, knowingly injected with tainted blood, mate. And you've had millions of dollars out of the Australian public. And you got your payoff. You got your payoff from Labor. You got your 10 million from your mate, hey? So he gets to be re-elected. Well, I actually think I think the two of you have made the biggest mistake of your lives. I've got the mainstream media watching this, I can assure you, and I'm going to go on the record. My name is Charles Mackenzie. I'm a former child patient who was given tainted blood. I've given my whole life to this cause. I'm aware that hundreds of children were murdered, and these two men are part of the criminal cover-up of that now, presenting smiling faces that Australia can be further deceived. This man's no reverend. And another reason for his reward was during COVID, this man betrayed us once again by the very same people who were covering up the infected blood scandal, paid him off to open a vaccine hub. Here he is saying, I'm a constant loudmouth about vaccinating the homeless. During COVID, he coerced and rounded up Sydney's vulnerable and homeless. And he had them injected with this garbage that would have harmed and killed. And yet today it's announced that rather than him being apologising to Sydney's vulnerable, or to the poor that he had injected, today it's announced that he is to receive 10 million in extra funding. He's already had millions and millions in public funding. He didn't call for a royal commission. He knows, Bill Cruz knows about Australia's deadliest medical scandal. He's left it to me. During COVID, I was giving evidence to a very stressful inquiry. It took years out of my life. And do you know what happened then? I lost contact with my family because I was so busy with this and picking up the phone 16 hours a day to talk to dying Australians who'd been hit by this terrible infected blood scandal. And all the while, this man had a radio show, 2GB, and all the while he had all the fame and all the media. And during my time serving as a witness, this man set me up. I told him, we're desperate for Australia. He said, oh, shall I get you a lawyer? And he organised a meeting with the very famous Ben Slade of Morris Blackburn Cashman lawyers, right? But he turned up over an hour late to his own meeting. And here was I with this human rights lawyer looking at me like I'm an absolute waste of time. He ruined that meeting deliberately. He did it to protect Albo. He did it to protect Albo and their cover-up. That's who he is. That's the real man, the Reverend of Jabs. And now he's being paid off by Albo, who we're going to oust. This guy is corrupt and he's covering up child murder. The Australian Labor government privatised a laboratory called the Commonwealth Serum Laboratories in 1994 because it had knowingly injected Australian children and other patients with bleeding disorders like haemophilia, knowingly and deliberately. Hundreds of children were murdered. But instead of actually holding the laboratory and the public servants and government doctors to account, Labor privatised the Commonwealth Serum Laboratories. And the same criminal perverts that murdered those kids made hundreds of millions of dollars as a reward for harming children. And now the Rev Bill Cruz gets his reward for harming Sydney's homeless and poor. He injected them with ineffective and somewhat deadly injections. And he gets $10 million. Does anyone see why I'm selling these hats? I'm not making any profit from them, by the way. I'm donating all of the money to causes about accountability. Make accountability happen again, everyone. I've been here for 40 years. I've been here ever since a kid. And during my time giving evidence to the UK's infected blood inquiry on behalf of Australia, you can find my statement online, right? I took my eye off the ball and my attention from my family. And late last year, I found out that my own mother had died. And I had people telling me that because I was giving evidence about this company, CSL, who used to be government-owned or publicly owned, Commonwealth Serum Laboratories and the Australian Red Cross Lifeblood, I had people telling me, credible people telling me I was going to be murdered. I had my own mother who poured hundreds of thousands of dollars and put up with me for 30 years, begging me to retire. And all the while, I was hoping that this man would do the right thing by Australia and simply call on his friend, Australia's Prime Minister, to do his duty and call for a necessary Royal Commission of Inquiry, just like the British had, to investigate how it was that tens of thousands of Australians would become impacted by tainted blood transfusions or tainted blood products. And he didn't do that. He didn't do that. He instead betrayed me. This man's no reverend of God. He supports all sorts of immoral things which are not part of the Gospels. But that's not my argument today. My argument is him betraying Australia, a national living treasure who didn't publicly call during the election on his friend Anthony Albanese for the necessary inquiry when he knew when he knew what was going on in the UK, when he knew about manslaughter. Well, today we know the reason why, and I'll leave a link to this. This is the end of Anthony Albanese, yes, to the Australian Labor government. If you come near me, I know that you want to murder me, and I know that you murdered the former head of the Queensland Red Cross, Dr. Ian Young, as does Bill Cruz. When that happened, I contacted him, I rang him up, and a very prominent journalist in Sydney was told by his lawyer that he'd been assassinated. Imagine me, I was only a young man. That was over 25 years ago. I've had all this pressure on me. I've poured hundreds of thousands of dollars of my own money. And this man gets his reward where our group gets nothing but death. If this Labor government tries to kill me or tries to set me up or anything, I've got international lawyers and Australian lawyers. We're not backing away. We know about you, and we know you've paid off this Reverend Bill Cruz. You paid him off so that he wouldn't publicly call on this man who's now about to be ousted over his criminal cover-up. It's perversion. Labor's finished. They privatised the Commonwealth Serum Laboratories, making the public pay billions more for what we owned so they could help their perverted mates get away with the mass harm of Australians and through exports, people around the world. Anything happens to me, it's no accident. This place is corrupt and this reverend's corrupt. Please read this story for yourself. Please look at this evidence. I'll link it. Labor backs vulnerable Aussies. Okay, via Bill Cruz Foundation. They're not backing vulnerable Aussies. They're backing their corrupt mate to stay silent. The same man that rounded up Sydney's homeless and impoverished and won't apologise and won't call for an inquiry into the infected blood scandal from his mate Albo. They're both finished. Thank you for watching.